So Mike, I asked you here today because the last time we spoke, you shared with me a really good, I don't know if it's an analogy, a metaphor, but we were talking about the differences between our newest version of our framework that we use in our coaching, the 7 attributes of agile growth, which was just released. It's really exciting, very powerful and robust, versus scaling up versus EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system made popular by the book Traction. It's a topic very near and dear to my heart, and I really liked what you told me and how you think about it. So I want to ask you to share.
So first, thank you, because I am very much, admittedly, a nerd. I'm a framework nerd, and I love these things. And
Can I say it? You are a nerd.
Yeah. Okay.
You're our nerd. And we love.
I'm okay with that.
I know.
You know, before I decided to join Gravitas Impact, I spent a whole lot of time studying the different operating systems. And having gone business to business to business to business, one thing is really clear to me. Every business is going to have an operating system, period. Mm-hmm. It might be organically created and glued together, or it might be one of the proven operating systems.
Yep.
And it's your choice as a business owner what you end up with. And you know, Jim Collins has a great comment that I like. And he says, greatness is not actually about the opportunities and whatnot. It's about a specific choice and applying a huge amount of discipline to it. Mm-hmm. I'm paraphrasing a little. Yeah. Your operating system ends up being the same thing. So is it something that's homegrown and may or may not have the right feature set for you? Mm-hmm. Or are you going to take something that's been proven and actually works? And then when you start looking at the fact that there's 3 major great operating systems in the market, determining which one's right for your business should take a fair amount of thought, and you should pay attention to it. Mm-hmm. You know, I look at them. I come from the IT background, so I look at them like operating systems on your computers. You know, EOS is the one that runs on my phone. It's highly efficient, super fast, does what it needs, but only does that. Yeah. Whereas scaling up is one that runs on a laptop. And then 7 attributes is one that's even more full featured, running on your desktop supercomputer. Yeah. You know, when you start looking at some of the amazing innovative things you can do with computers now, and with your business, you need to make sure you have an operating system that's designed for that.
Right, that has the power and the depth.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where 7 attributes comes in. And one of the things I love about it is how full featured it is. You can run it incredibly streamlined. Mm-hmm. Like you, I've implemented it in little tiny businesses and they love it. But then it also works in your $250 million business with a deep innovation cycle and full customer experience and everything else that comes from it.
So much in the same way that I can surf my Facebook account, social media on my phone, I can also do that on a supercomputer. Mm-hmm. But conversely, to do deep, in-depth processing or video processing, something that requires a lot of power, I can't do that on my phone.
You can try, but it's going to be, but it's not going to give you the framework to do it to the same level. EOS will make a company more healthy. It will give the company traction if they stick to it.
Yes.
The exact same way scaling up does and 7 attributes does. But it makes it so accessible as a first step for businesses.
Yeah, as a first step. Yeah. I was, because even embedded in the title, the entrepreneurial operating system, is I believe truly that it's designed for smaller entrepreneurial organizations. And I think some of the biggest value, and I know this because I've hired an EOS implementer for my company previously, is that it really does instill a discipline around execution.
Yes.
That's great. Some of my best clients were companies that had been running on EOS, but really kind of maxed out on it and ran out of gas because there's a lot of things that it really doesn't go in depth in. I think strategy is one of those, cash strategies. And even the fact that if I think about EOS, I hired an implementer who, in retrospect, now I see was really like a technician implementing that system. Mm-hmm. To your point, a relatively simple system, but yet powerful for what we needed because we just had an organic system. So what do you think about that, the fact of an implementer versus what you are and what I am as a coach?
Well, I'm going to step sideways 1.5 steps first.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're lucky that you did it with an implementer. Because when I've talked to companies that have implemented EOS, there's two different ways. The entrepreneur reads the book and goes, this is so simple, I can do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And they go try to. And they don't instill the discipline. They don't instill the rigor. They don't quite get it right.
Mm-hmm.
And it fizzles.
Yeah.
And they turn around and go, well, these frameworks are a waste of time.
Yeah.
Having that implementer is incredibly important. It's a technician, it's a teacher, it's a little bit of a facilitator, and to actually get you going. And in my mind, that's a vital role, and it's something that we do when we onboard customers. There's a lot of teaching involved in that first step.
Mm-hmm.
But if the implementer is following EOS's rules, they're
Mm-hmm.
purely a teacher.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of them don't follow the rules. Shh, don't tell them that. But a lot of them don't, and they go a little further. And the
Mm-hmm.
real value ends up being this triangle. One part teacher, one part coach that holds you accountable and helps you come up with your own self-discoveries,
Mm-hmm.
and one part advisor who's been there and done that.
Yeah.
A lot of the value you bring, Glenn, is the fact that you've run one of these businesses before.
Right.
You've been through it, you've felt the pain, you know the value, and you can help, using a combination of coaching and advising, help a leader actually actually come up with a response for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But when there's gaps, you can go, hey, what about this? Or let me tell you a story about when I ran into such and such.
We talk about the mistakes that I made.
Yes.
I definitely, and that's really, even for me, as part of my purpose and part of my positioning as a coach, is that I've sat in that chair, I've been in your shoes, and I also, you talked about the three. I definitely play all those roles, and I definitely see where those are all very valuable. And I even kind of put that in the center as I am the person in your corner.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the CEO, and I would that a CEO doesn't have to have the title CEO, but if it's the person who is ultimately responsible for the success or failure of a business, whether you have 1,000 employees, 10,000 employees, or one employee, you're the CEO of that business, right? You're the person at the top. And I am the person that my only success comes from your success as a CEO. So I'm the person in your corner. I'm not above you as an owner or a board member, nor am I below you as an employee. So I can tell you the things that you might not want to hear, but you need to. And also tell you the things that I believe will make you more successful, because that's the only way that I am successful, right? That's the only way that you as a CEO will pay me as a coach. If you are successful and you get value from the coaching. And that's the one person I did not have in my role. I was a public company CEO. I had 3,000 shareholders that were happy to tell me what they thought. I had a board of directors that were very happy to tell me what they thought. And I had a lot of really great employees that were happy to tell me what they thought. But I wouldn't say that any one of them were only out for my success. They always had an agenda of their own.
And I've had a couple of clients over the years who have openly said exactly that. One of the values of having a coach is having somebody who's only there for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that relationship, when you get it done right, is magical.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really lonely to be a CEO. When I was running my first business, we weren't huge, but I had a team, and we did pretty well. But I had nobody to talk to. My wife didn't care, and she cared about me, but not about what's happening inside the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so having that coach, advisor, person in your corner, is so important.
I'm in Minneapolis. Minneapolis is the epicenter of EOS.
Yeah.
And I love EOS. And I was going to become an EOS implementer before I discovered scaling up.
So was I.
Yeah. I had never heard of scaling up. And once I read Vern's book, I remember reading it read part of it on a plane ride to New York. And I was blown away, because to me, I was like, wow, this is EOS on steroids. If EOS is my grade school education and business frameworks, then scaling up is my high school or bachelor's degree. And then, now that we've launched 7 attributes of agile growth within the Gravitas Impact organization, at first I was skeptical and I was, I don't want to, come on. Scaling up is awesome. There's still so much depth there, and there's a lot of tools I haven't used with my clients yet, and I don't want to change. And once I spent the time and went through it, I said, wow, this is great and powerful stuff. I'm changing over.
It's the MBA.
Yeah. Yeah. If not a PhD, I don't know. Maybe that's exaggerating. No, the PhD will be the next one, right? That'll be the 9. But it really is. I think adding leadership as separate modules and adding tools from some of the thought leaders and some of the books, really makes it robust.
And I look at a lot of it as modernization. So actually bringing it into the world of Agile, which is so important in the post-COVID space, that we need to be able to focus faster and actually get stuff done faster. Yeah. The design of a framework that mixes that Agile methodology in is incredibly powerful. Yeah. Now, somebody's going to turn around and say, well, scaling up and EOS are technically both kind of Agile. And they're right. But EOS's lock-in on quarterly rocks yes, that is Agile, and it allows you to change directions, but it's a lock. Where with 7 attributes, we turn around and say, if your world changes, forget quarterly, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever makes sense based on the frequency you need for market change. And that ends up being a big philosophical differentiator.
Yeah. Another thing that I look back, and when I was a CEO and I had brought in an EOS implementer and we were implementing EOS, I also hired a strategy consultant.
Oh, okay.
I know. So I would be shocked and offended if one of my clients hired a strategy consultant, because that's part and parcel. I mean, strategy is implicit in having a strong business, having a vision for your business, having a differentiator that differentiates your business. But it was just really interesting now looking back that I wasn't getting that from EOS. And, when I told my implementer, he said, okay, well, just let me know what that is.
And it really becomes a different relationship because of that. Yeah. And when I talk to people about the frameworks out there, it's, EOS is an amazing execution framework. It's more or less integrated into what we do. But it's an amazing integration framework. And I love clients that have already done EOS, because they are healthy and functional when it comes to implementation.
Right. Yeah, they know. Yep.
And then we can spend all of our time looking at differentiators, how to strengthen those differentiators, how to actually target specific areas of the market, go designing a customer experience that wows everybody. We can do all of these powerful things that we add on to create all that depth, so that the company isn't just $1 million turning over and going, yes, growing to 1.5 and 2 because they're turning over better. We actually can strategically target, this is how we're going to hit 5. Here's how we're going to take 5 to 10, 10 to 20, and continue going. Yeah.
I was last week with a new client, one that I just started working with within the last 6 weeks. That is previous being EOS, believe in their 5th year, which seems to be that 3 to 5 year range. And we basically reinvigorized, is that a word? Re-energized?
Sure.
Reinvigorized, with a North Star, big, hairy, audacious goal. And it was exciting, but it was something that the CEO then shared with me that had been lacking in his business for, he said, probably the last year or 2, and even for him personally. And when he had told me about some of the previous visions they had set, they seemed to be a lot more numerical, a lot less emotional and evocative and visionary. They were kind of by the books. All right, set a big goal, $20 million. Versus what I find when using, I love the idea of building out what I call a North Star for the big, hairy, audacious goal, or BHAG. And I always say it needs to have heart. And if it has heart and it's aligned with your purpose and your core values, then your employees won't have a job, they'll have a purpose. They'll be part of the mission. And I find once we set that first, then back into our financial targets, always the financial targets are far greater than they might have imagined they could have been before that.
You know, I love that. We've talked about this one before. You
Mhm.
know, creating a BHAG that's around your purpose and the impact you're looking to make,
Yeah.
getting people emotionally tied to it so that they want to put their energy in and they're driven by it.
Mhm.
The numbers are just measurements.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, exactly
You know,
right. Yardstick.
nobody cares if it's a $20 million revenue target. Actually, they might be offended by that, but they totally want, if is impacting this many lives and doing this many things, and they can really feel it in their heart, then the
Mhm.
measurement of 20 million becomes secondary.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, that, you know, doing that kind of thing, I think that's actually the beauty of working with a different style of coach who's not a technician,
Yeah.
but instead understands leadership and
Mhm.
understands strategy and understands people at a different level.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things I've seen and I've just been amazed by in our community is how much time our community spends learning and growing for themselves. And how 90% of that growth is on the soft side of things. It's on EQ, it's
Mhm.
on people, it's on leadership, because then they bring that to the clients and they teach them about how to use your heart instead of just your head. You shouldn't end up with an accidental operating system.
Mhm.
When you're looking at building your business, you're intentional about goal setting, you're intentional about what you want to accomplish. Be intentional about how you accomplish it as well. And then
Mhm.
take the time to figure out what framework will work the best for your organization and help you leverage those growth targets the best.
I would say that it's truly lonely at the top,
Hmm.
and that if you're the CEO of a business and you truly want to grow yourself and your business, and you do not want to be the person that stands in the way of that,
Mhm.
then I would definitely think you would want to look at a coach versus an implementer. And how do you know that? I'd say look around the room. If you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. And if you don't think that, you're probably not ready for a coach.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful.
It's not mine. I got it from someone else, but
Okay. I wasn't going to make any comment about that, you know, but you know, yeah, that's an important one to start cluing into.
yeah. Well, thanks for your time, Mike. I always love our conversations. Um,
Thank you, Glenn. This has been great.
yeah.